When a statement is made about India, it is necessary to set the record straight, because India today is not a nation that can be misunderstood or spoken of lightly. For too long, many have thought of this country as one that will quietly accept commentary, will silently endure judgments, or will patiently wait for validation from outside. That era is gone. India listens, yes. India engages, yes. But India does not take dictation. Our choices are our own, shaped by the aspirations of 1.4 billion people, and no external remark, however powerful or loud, will alter that. When President Trump speaks in a way that touches upon India's sovereignty, our policies, or our direction as a nation, we cannot remain silent. It is not arrogance, it is responsibility. A government that claims to represent its people must never give the impression that its policies are guided by anyone else. The world must hear, clearly and firmly, that India decides for itself. Our national interest is not open to negotiation, it is not a subject for bargaining, and it is not a tool for others to use in their own political theater. We are respectful of all nations, but respectful does not mean submissive. It is important to understand that India's rise has not been accidental. It has been the result of decades of effort, sacrifice, reform, and resilience. Every step forward has been earned, not gifted. To suggest that our choices are shaped by someone else's demands is to deny that history and diminish that achievement. Therefore, we reject it outright. India does not bend under pressure because we have learned from our past that our strength lies in standing firm. Whether it was during colonial times, during the Cold War, or in the modern geopolitical era, India has charted its own course. That will not change. When we respond to statements made abroad, our reply is not meant only for one leader or one nation, it is meant for the world. We are making it clear that the age of presuming influence over India is over. A new India has emerged, an India that sits at global tables, not as a guest, but as an equal, an India that speaks not in whispers, but with clarity, an India that insists on respect before partnership. Our diplomacy is built on cooperation, but our cooperation is never at the cost of our sovereignty. So let it be understood by friend and critic alike, India is not a follower. We are not a camp for anyone to claim. We are not a pawn in someone else's game. India acts according to its own judgment, guided by its own compass, and rooted in its own interests. This is the line we draw, and we will not allow anyone to blur it. That is why when India replies, it replies with firmness, with calm, and with conviction. And that is why when we set the record straight, there should be no doubt left in anyone's mind. India's foreign policy has always been rooted in independence, and today that independence is more visible and more assertive than ever before. When the world asks which side India is on, the answer is simple. India is on India's side. We are not aligned against anyone, nor aligned behind anyone. Our choices are our own, our decisions are taken in New Delhi, and our policies are guided by the needs of our people, rather than the expectations of others. This is not just a statement of principle, it is a reflection of reality. No matter how great the pressure, no matter how loud the voices that attempt to sway us, India's compass does not spin wildly. It points steadily toward our national interest. This independent stance has deep roots. In the early decades after independence, when the world was divided into blocs, India refused to be a pawn in a bipolar contest. We built a reputation for standing apart, for listening to all but following none. Today, the world is again in a phase of division, polarization, and competing pressures. And once again, India is being asked to choose. Our answer remains consistent. We will engage with all, but we will be dictated to by none. We are not afraid of disagreement, and we do not fear difference. We believe engagement must be conducted on equal footing without expectations of compliance. Some may interpret this independence as unpredictability, but it is not so. Our partners know where we stand. We stand where India's interest is best protected. We have bought oil where we needed to, we have secured defense where it was required, and we have entered trade partnerships where mutual benefit was clear. None of these decisions are shaped by appeasing or offending another power. They are shaped by the needs of 1.4 billion citizens who expect their government to prioritize them above all else, and that is exactly what we do. Those who claim friendship with India must therefore understand that friendship cannot mean obedience. True partnership means respect for each other's choices. It means recognizing that India will sometimes agree and sometimes disagree, but in both cases, India will decide freely. That freedom of choice is not negotiable. It is the essence of our sovereignty, and it is the principle by which we conduct ourselves. India today is sought after as a partner precisely because of this independence. Nations know that we do not act as proxies. They know that when we take a position, it carries credibility because it comes from our own judgment, not borrowed influence. This is what gives weight to India's voice on global issues. This is what makes our partnerships valuable. And this is why we can say with confidence, India is not just another participant in global affairs. It is a force that moves on its own, steady, resolute, and uncompromising in its autonomy. That is India's independent stance, and it is not open to reinterpretation. Respect is the foundation of any relationship, whether personal or between nations. Without respect, words of friendship are hollow and promises of partnership are fragile. India has always believed that differences can be managed, disputes can be resolved, and cooperation can flourish if respect is genuine. But when friendship is mistaken for the right to interfere, when partnership is used as a cover for pressure, then it ceases to be friendship at all. Nations may disagree, leaders may differ, that is natural. But respect must remain constant. Respect is not a favor, it is the minimum requirement for any meaningful engagement. India's history has taught us the cost of disrespect. For centuries, this land endured interference and domination disguised as guidance. We learned that submission to external pressure never brings dignity, never brings growth, never brings peace. That lesson has shaped our foreign policy. We will never allow our independence to be compromised by demands that are dressed up as advice. We welcome dialogue, but dialogue cannot become dictation. We welcome partnership, but partnership cannot become pressure. When powerful voices speak in ways that seem to challenge India's choices, we do not respond with anger, we respond with clarity. We remind the world that India is a sovereign nation, that our decisions are made after careful thought, and that we do not seek anyone's approval for them. We are respectful of all, but we are not beholden to any. Respect cannot be one-sided, it must be mutual. If respect is offered, the relationship will thrive. If it is withheld, the relationship will wither, no matter how many speeches are made or handshakes exchanged. It is also important to remember that pressure is short-sighted. Attempts to corner India or push us into positions that do not serve our interests will fail, because India has the strength and resilience to resist. More than that, they damage trust. Once trust is eroded, rebuilding it takes far longer than any short-term gain that pressure might bring. Our partners must understand that what India values most is honesty and equality. We do not ask for special treatment. We do not demand undue favors. What we insist on is fairness, and fairness begins with respect. Those who respect India will discover the depth of our friendship. We have stood by our partners in times of crisis, we have extended support without hesitation, and we have proven that India's word can be trusted. But those who attempt to use coercion will discover the futility of that approach. India cannot be intimidated, not by threats, not by criticism, not by pressure of any kind. We stand firm because we know our worth, and we know that the world too recognizes it. In the end, respect builds bridges, while pressure builds walls. If nations truly wish to work with India, they must meet us as equals, not as superiors giving orders. That is the principle on which we engage with the world. That is the principle that defines who we are. India's place in the world today is not accidental and it is not symbolic. It is the result of decades of determination, reform, and resilience. We are the world's largest democracy, a nation of 1.4 billion voices, each adding strength to the collective whole. We are the fifth largest economy, with the momentum to rise even higher. We are a society that has preserved its identity while embracing modernity, a civilization that has endured for millennia and yet remains young in its energy and aspiration. When India speaks, the world listens, not because we shout the loudest, but because our words carry the weight of credibility and conviction. For too long, others have underestimated India, imagining it as a country defined by potential rather than achievement. That time has passed. The numbers themselves tell a story. In economy, in technology, in innovation, in defense, and in diplomacy, India's footprint is global. From shaping digital revolutions to driving space exploration, from leading climate negotiations to providing vaccines to nations in need, India has shown that its contributions are not limited to itself. They are global in scope and global in impact. This is why India is not a country to be lectured to, it is a country to be reckoned with. But our weight is not just in size or numbers, it is in the trust we command. Many nations may be powerful, but not all are respected. India has earned respect by staying consistent with its values, by standing for democracy, for pluralism, for fairness, and for dialogue. Even when the world is divided, India has managed to speak across divides, to engage with all sides without losing its integrity. That is why nations seek India's voice when crises emerge, whether in security, trade, or humanitarian challenges. They know that India brings balance, maturity, and credibility to the table. This global weight also carries responsibility. We do not use our voice to dominate or dictate. We use it to guide, to mediate, to build consensus. But let there be no confusion. Our restraint should not be mistaken for weakness. India's patience is deliberate, but our strength is real. We are capable of defending our interests with firmness, of standing alone when required, and of leading when others hesitate. Those who misread India's quiet confidence as silence will be surprised when India chooses to act. Our global standing is also reinforced by the partnerships we have built. Nations across continents seek deeper ties with India, not only for trade and technology, but for trust and reliability. In a world where alliances often shift with convenience, India has proven to be a stable and principled partner. That reliability adds to our weight. So when someone questions India's choices or seeks to pressure us, they must understand that they are not speaking to a small power that depends on external approval. They are speaking to a nation that stands tall, whose strength is recognized across the globe, and whose rise cannot be stopped. India's global weight is not just a matter of pride. It is a reality the world must accept. Strategic autonomy has always been at the heart of India's foreign policy, and in today's complex world, it is more vital than ever. For India, autonomy is not a slogan. It is a necessity born out of history, geography, and experience. We live in a world where powers compete, where alliances shift, and where pressure is often exerted through economics, security, or diplomacy. In such a world, India's security, growth, and stability cannot be dependent on the choices of others. They must rest firmly on our own judgment. That is why every major decision, whether in defense, procurement, energy security, or trade policy, is guided by one compass: India's national interest. This principle is neither new nor negotiable. From the earliest days after independence, India resisted being drawn into the rival blocs of the Cold War. Even when choices were difficult, we insisted on maintaining freedom of decision. That tradition of non-alignment has evolved into what we now call strategic autonomy, a clearer, sharper expression of our determination to choose our own path without external interference. We engage widely, we cooperate deeply, but we do not allow any partnership to dictate our future. That is the essence of our sovereignty. Consider energy, for example. India requires secure and affordable energy to sustain growth for 1.4 billion people. If that means diversifying our sources, if that means engaging with partners some others disapprove of, then so be it. No one else carries the responsibility of fueling our homes, industries, and transport. That responsibility lies with us, and we will fulfill it as we see fit. Similarly, in defense, we procure technology and equipment from diverse partners. We value our cooperation with the United States, Russia, France, Israel, and others, but we are beholden to none. Our decisions are based on capability, reliability, and national intérêt. Rest not on political pressure. This autonomy also extends to diplomacy. We have strong partnerships with the West, close relations with Russia, and deep engagement with Asia, Africa, and the global South. We have shown that it is possible to be friends with all without being captive to any. Some may find this uncomfortable. They may prefer a world neatly divided into camps. But India does not fit into those divisions. Our position is not of ambiguity, it is of clarity. We make decisions case by case, interest by interest, principle by principle. Strategic autonomy, however, does not mean isolation. It does not mean standing apart from the world. On the contrary, it allows us to engage more effectively because our partners know that when we commit, we do so freely, not under compulsion. That makes our commitments stronger and more credible. Our word carries weight because it is our own. Let it be clear, therefore, India's choices will not be made in Washington or in Moscow or in Beijing or anywhere else. They will be made in New Delhi with the interests of our people as the guiding light. That is the meaning of strategic autonomy. That is the guarantee of India's independence in the modern world Those who engage with India must understand one simple truth. We are a nation that values friendship, but we are not a nation that can be taken for granted. We do not seek confrontation, yet we will never shy away from standing our ground. India's approach to the world is calm, reasoned, and constructive. But beneath that calm lies an unshakable resolve. This is why any attempt to underestimate India will fail, and any attempt to pressure India will backfire. Our reply to such efforts is not loud rhetoric, but firm action, and our message is unmistakable. Those who respect India will find the strongest of partners. Those who do not will meet a wall of resistance. The world must recognize that India has changed. The days when others could assume compliance or hesitation are over. A new India speaks with clarity and acts with confidence. This does not mean we seek to dominate or dictate, but it does mean we expect recognition of our sovereignty and respect for our decisions. If that respect is denied, the cost will not be borne by India alone. It will be borne by those who chose to disregard us. Partnerships cannot flourish in the absence of equality, and relationships cannot deepen in the shadow of coercion. India's warning is subtle, but it is also unmistakable. We are not interested in theatrics, but we are not afraid to demonstrate strength when required. If our interests are challenged, we will defend them. If our sovereignty is questioned, we will assert it. If our choices are pressured, we will resist. We are not in the business of issuing threats, yet the world has seen that India is capable of action, whether in defending our borders, in securing our citizens, or in protecting our economy. We prefer peace, but peace cannot come at the cost of dignity. This warning is not directed at one nation or one leader. It is a reminder to the world at large. India does not rise at the expense of others, but neither will it allow others to rise at its expense. Those who try to box India into convenient categories will be disappointed, for India does not fit into boxes. Those who try to use India for short-term gain will be surprised, for India does not allow itself to be used. And those who imagine India can be ignored will eventually realize that our silence is not weakness, it is patience. But patience has limits, and when they are crossed, India's response is decisive. So let it be remembered, we are open to friendship, we are open to dialogue, we are open to cooperation. But we will never accept condescension, interference, or pressure. Respect us, and you will find in India a partner more reliable than any other. Disrespect us, and you will find in India a nation that cannot be bent. That is our subtle warning, and it should be heard clearly